All right, let's talk about some of those weird English phrases. Has anyone ever told you to break a leg and you were just left standing there thinking, wait, should I be offended? English is absolutely full of these strange sayings, and honestly, getting a handle on them is a huge step towards sounding like a native speaker. Today, we're going to learn 9 of the most common ones, not from a textbook, but by following one single story. Let's dive in. Idioms like these can be so confusing, right? Because let's be honest, they almost never mean what they literally say. But what if there was a better way to learn them than just memorizing a long, boring list? What if you could see them in action, in a context that makes them stick? Well, that's exactly our plan today. We're going to follow the story of a woman named Sarah, and I promise, by the end of this, you'll have these phrases totally locked in. So let's meet our main character. This is Sarah, and her day is, well, it's getting off to a really rough start. We're setting the scene for a pretty big challenge, which just so happens to be the perfect place to see our first few idioms in the wild. Okay, so picture this. Sarah wakes up and today is the day of her dream job interview. But she feels awful. We're talking sore throat, pounding head, the whole deal. It's the perfect time for our first idiom. She is definitely feeling under the weather. But what in the world does that actually mean? It's pretty simple, really. It just means to feel sick. And here's a cool little backstory for you. The phrase actually comes from old sailing days. When a sailor got seasick, they'd be sent below deck to get away from the storm, so they were literally under the bad weather. So next time you hear it, you'll know it's about feeling sick, not about getting caught in the rain. So now she has this huge decision to make. Does she miss the interview of a lifetime, or does she go while feeling this sick? She knows she has to face this head on. She decides she's just gonna have to bite the bullet. This phrase perfectly captures her grit and determination to just push through it. And that's exactly what it means, to face something tough with courage. The origin story for this one is pretty intense, but it's super memorable. Before anesthesia was a thing, soldiers in surgery would literally be given a lead bullet to bite down on to cope with the pain. A bit grisly, I know, but you'll never forget what it means now. As she's getting ready, she looks at this brand new suit she bought specifically for this interview. It was a huge investment, something her friend even pointed out by saying it costs an arm and a leg. This is a classic idiom you've probably heard before, and it's all about a seriously high price tag. Yep, that's all it is. If something costs an arm and a leg, it's just very, very expensive. You know, like a new sports car or a fancy apartment. Sarah really believed this suit was a worthy investment in her future, but it definitely wasn't cheap. Just then, her mom calls to wish her luck. Now, Sarah doesn't want to cause any worry, right? So when her mom asks how she's feeling, she completely avoids giving a straight answer. Instead, she starts talking about the interview questions and the company. She's beating around the bush. And this means you're avoiding the main topic. You're talking about everything except the one thing you're supposed to be discussing. It's a really common way to describe someone who's just not being direct. Her mom, totally unaware that Sarah is sick, ends the call with this absolute classic. Break a leg. Now, if you didn't know the idiom, you might think her mom was being incredibly mean. But of course, she's wishing her the best. It's really just a quirky, kind of fun way of saying good luck. It comes from the theater world, where it's considered bad luck to actually wish someone good luck, so they say the complete opposite instead. Okay, so Sarah has made it through her tough morning. Now let's move on to the next part of our story, the interview itself. This is where we're going to see a whole new set of idioms come into play. The interviewer is really impressed by her resume and asks about a successful project she managed. Sarah explains her philosophy. Her team always put quality above everything else. She tells them, "We never believed in cutting corners." Cutting corners, what's that about? It basically means taking the easy or cheap way out, which almost always means you end up with a lower quality result. By saying she avoids this, Sarah is making it super clear that she has really high standards. So then the interviewer asks that classic tough question. Tell me about a time something went wrong. Sarah talks about a time her team lost a huge client. The whole team was obviously upset, and she says their first reaction was to just cry over spilled milk. This idiom means getting all worked up about something in the past that you just can't fix. I mean, the milk is already spilled. You can't put it back in the bottle, right? Sarah's showing that she doesn't believe in dwelling on problems that are already in the past. So what did she do instead of dwelling on it? She totally reframed the situation.
She told her team to look at this huge setback as a blessing in disguise. This is such a great way to show her positive, forward-thinking attitude. And this is such a powerful idea. A blessing in disguise is something that seems terrible at first, but actually ends up being a good thing. For Sarah's team, losing that client felt like the end of the world, but it forced them to find new, even better ones, and they ended up growing their business more than ever. The bad thing led to a great outcome. Well, as you can imagine, Sarah absolutely aced the interview. She turned a really difficult situation into a story of strength and resilience. Now let's see how it all turned out and do a quick review of everything we've learned through her big day.
She got the job. Of course she did. When she calls her mom to share the great news, she says she is completely exhausted from the stressful day and that she plans to hit the sack early. And that's our final idiom for the day. We're ending on a nice, simple one. To hit the sack just means you're going to bed. The origin is pretty neat. Back in the old days, mattresses were literally just giant sacks stuffed with hay or straw. So you were physically hitting your sack when you went to sleep. And there you have it, 9 essential idioms, all learned through one single memorable story, from feeling under the weather all the way to hitting the sack. You see, seeing them in context like this is really the key to making them stick. Here they all are, in one place, just for a final review. You see, the key takeaway here isn't just a list of phrases. It's a whole new way to understand and actually use them. They add so much personality and color to your language, and they help you connect in a much more natural way. So, the only question I have left for you is, which one of these are you going to start using today?